Gideon, there's nothing I hate more than arriving for the first time at a local cricket oval and seeing that they've replaced the beautiful natural turf with synthetic grass.
Why is that, Pete? Are you particular about the speed of the outfield?
No, mate. Obviously, I am, but it's worse than that. Synthetic grass releases toxic chemicals and microplastics that enter the atmosphere and our bodies.
That does sound pretty bad, a lot worse than a scraped knee, which you'll probably also get from playing on synthetic grass.
Yep. We're all starting to learn just how prevalent microplastics are in our environment, and getting rid of synthetic grass is just one of the ways you can reduce the harmful effects of microplastics on yours and your family's health.
For more information, check out the free and handy ebook created by Mindaroo at mindaroo.org/ebook.
Cricket et al. It's a website, it's a podcast.
Pete, it's a way of life. So it's Gideon Haig over here.
Pete Lawler here.
And welcome to Cricket et al., your independent cricket podcast, coming to you from that SCG in the background. That's not the real SCG, that's a picture of the SCG.
It's an AI SCG.
It's like a crash, isn't it?
Yeah, it is AI crash.
It's spooky. Spooky. Anyway, that's where we are. That's a hint because we've just watched Australia win the Border-Gavaskar Trophy after 8 years. They last won it 10 years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right.
And they're in the World Test Championship final against South Africa. So they don't have to do anything in Sri Lanka. They don't even have to go if they don't want to. But they're there. They're there.
Pat Cummins may not go, actually.
He might not.
He might stay here for the birth of his child.
Yeah.
There might be better things to do.
Yeah. First things first, though. Good day.
First?
Good day. Really interesting day of cricket, which was perhaps it was decided before play actually commenced when we saw Salut Bumrah come out and roll his arm over gingerly and feel his back and disappear back into the inner sanctum.
And that's all he did was roll his arm over.
That's
really,
right.
it was off a pace, wasn't it? Yeah. He walked onto the field okay, and I still thought maybe he's just saving himself for a Graham Smith moment.
He bowls off two paces. Let's face it. Doesn't need that run up at all.
Salut Bumrah with a broken back is probably better than a few bowlers going around in world cricket at the moment. So unfortunately, they did not have Salut Bumrah, but nonetheless, it wasn't a given, was it? I mean, we're on a pitch where the scores have been 185, 181, 160 something.
157, Australia in the second, India in the second innings.
Yeah, 157.
So this was a legitimate chase. Yeah, and it could have got tight. Of course, India had two spinners who were pretty, made very limited contribution to the game. They might have liked another batter. They certainly would have liked another 50 runs. That would have made life very, very interesting indeed. And but let's start with. Australia did an excellent job of truncating the Indian tail this morning. Those things very frequently don't go according to plan. But
it's like soap, it slips out of your hands.
Exactly. But Pat Cummins was taking no chances. He put himself on and Scott Boland, who were the outstanding bowlers yesterday, and they did the job. They did the job beautifully. They attacked the stumps, with a pitch with coming through on uneven heights. That was the ball. The ball on the stumps was the one that.
It was made for seam bowling that pitch, wasn't it? How many times have you seen bowlers hit it? How many times in a test match do you see the ball hit the top of off like it did in this game or fly to slip? So Cummins 15 overs, 3 for 44. Boland 16.5 overs, 6 for 45.
Yeah, 10 for 76 for the game. His first 10-wicket performance in 121 first-class games. Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah, and 10 for 76. Just shy of Interesting there, though, that Mitchell Stark bowls 4 overs, Bo Webster bowls 4 overs, and Nathan Lyon has again failed to show up. Gideon, what's going on there?
He's playing for his batting.
But outstanding performance by Scott Boland, and he's done so well since he's come in for Josh Hazlewood. I mean, it's got to be hard to be the extra bowler. How are you match fit when you're the extra bowler? All you're doing is sending them down in the nets. There's a real chance that you go stale on the shelf. You see it happen with batters, all right?
But I guess you also know that you're not bad odds to play, because it is very unusual to see the same attack go through an entire series. And in fact,
how did that go last
when
time?
It did the last time, it went very badly for Australia. So he provided that extra impetus, that extra thrust, probably when Australia needed it most. And Australia, this has been. We'll get to it later. This has been a fast bowler series. Once again, the fast bowlers have ruled the roost to the exclusion of the batters and the spinners.
Well, they're captaining the team.
Yeah,
they're doing all the work.
They are.
The spinners can just go and fuck off. No one wants them anymore. They're kind of the gimps of modern cricket. Gideon.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, Pete.
Yeah, probably not a very polite thing
you
to
can
say.
You can tell it's we're a bit ragged at the end of the series. So Australia had set themselves a task of getting 162, and India did not manage to approximate the Australian precision. In fact, they looked just a little bit not overexcited, but desperate, didn't they?
Just
they could not
a bit too hard.
Could not attack the stumps. Could not find their lines.
5 wides in the first over.
13 runs in the first over. 26 by the end of the second over. 35 by the end of the third. And often
and 10 of them or 12. No, 12 of them.
12 of them were extras. Yeah. So often that is all you need in a nipping chase. Is a positive start, which means you're just ever so slightly ahead of the game. Sam Constas probably missed an opportunity to see this mission through today.
Yeah, I think he did.
By the time we'd got into that fourth over, India had 4 men back on the fence. They had sweepers and they had 2 behind fine leg.
Mm.
And there was singles in every direction, but he proceeded to hit the ball straight up in the air.
Well, he had taken a few of those singles on off.
He had. Yeah.
Have you ever seen in a small chase 4 players on the boundary road behind square on either side? Yeah. I mean, it was an extraordinary field.
It was.
It spoke a little bit to the wickets.
Yeah.
But it spoke a lot to the way that Sam Constas played. But there was no Bumrah. And I thought Constas could have milked it a little better than he did.
For sure.
But he still looked more assured at the crease at that point of the game than his opening partner, Usman Khawaja. I think we need to pause and acknowledge Usman Khawaja's contribution to this effort.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't look great, I think, in either innings. I think his footwork has become so limited now. It's almost like he's on this little tiny trap door and he's afraid to go outside it.
I agree. And I was saying the same thing on radio with Damien Fleming. Then he actually started to step into
He did, yeah. He drove a nice one down the ground, didn't he?
He's just starting to find that timing and things again.
But he really sweats on the pull shot now, doesn't he? That's probably his one really remaining offensive shot, and that, of course, is how he got out today, playing the pull shot off Siraj.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, it was reassuring while he was there to have his presence, but one does wonder whether you'll see him again in a Sydney Test match. By the time the Sydney Test match rolls around next time, he'll be in his 40th year.
Yeah.
You don't get too many Australians playing at that level of seniority. I think they will think that they need him in Sri Lanka. Maybe they'll see him through to the World Test Championship final. His experience would be reassuring there, but it is, I think, probably time for a recalibration. Maybe Sam Constas's presence will prolong Khawaja's useful life a little bit further.
I don't mind him going there because I actually don't think going to Sri Lanka, because I don't think there's anything much to be gained by playing anybody else in Sri Lanka.
No.
I mean, they had talked initially about putting Head to the top of the order in Sri Lanka, but now that you've got Constas, maybe to stick with him and maybe Head can move up in the batting a little bit. Yep. But I mean, is there anybody demanding or deserving of that opportunity in Sri Lanka, more deserving than Khawaja? I don't think there is, to be honest.
Look, the other thing is, it is a little bit difficult to make a judgment about how batsmen will go in Sri Lanka on the basis of what they've achieved on Australian pitches this summer. Now, these pitches are much, much juicier than they've ever been used to. You look at the batting averages of the top players. Steve Smith's averaged 35.
Wow.
He hasn't actually looked like a batter averaging 35, but, Kohli's averaged 23, Labuschagne's averaging 26. The batsmen who have been most successful have been those who have played aggressively in Head and Jaiswal. Does that necessarily translate to how you're going to go on a dry spinning pitch in Sri Lanka? I don't know.
Are we allowed to have a highlight playing beyond?
Gosh, not sorry.
Don't
draw attention to it.
Sorry, you said something then I was going to respond to, and I got distracted by the pitch.
Well, the pitch actually did get...
we were talking about the pitch. Yes, I do want to say, Andrew McDonald, if you're listening, turn off now. Andrew McDonald went into the press conference last night and said, It's a difficult pitch, but it's a competitive pitch. Both sides got to play on it. They are filthy with the pitch.
Yeah.
Absolutely filthy with the pitch. Steve Smith was spitting chips about it.
Yeah.
The whole side's spitting chips about it.
But the
memo to Indian listeners, Australia, this sort of goes to that argument. Australia do not prepare pitches for their teams. Were they preparing pitches for their teams, they would have prepared a flat deck here.
Yeah. Like Ahmedabad in 2023.
Oh,
Test match that could still be going on.
Still going on. But yeah, and you wouldn't have blamed anyone for preparing a sort of more docile pitch here. And generally in Sydney, we have had docile pitches in the games that we've been allowed to play when the weather's allowed us to do that. This was the second year of the new grass. I think the curator will hold up his hand and said it was spicier. You know, it's just overspiced. A little bit like Brisbane a couple of years ago, which a lot of Indian fans complained about, but that was never a deliberately prepared pitch. But the curator held his hands up and said, I got that one wrong. And I feel the curator has over-egged it a little bit here. You know, a little bit too much chili.
Not as badly as the Brisbane pitch against South Africa. Yeah. That was horrendous.
Which one?
The pitch for the South African test that ended in 2 days. That's probably the benchmark. Of course, it's not necessarily the pitch that gets you out, but thinking about the pitch that often gets you out. And I think Labuschagne probably got out that way, and probably Smith too.
I think thinking about the pitch, you take the 9 out of the equation. Yeah. What are you doing advancing? We saw Rahul do that as well, didn't we? Yeah. Rahul in the first innings. Advancing on the bowling, it's a premeditated method.
A forward and a cross method.
Yeah, and you just think, and he just walked straight into the short ball. He was gone. He could do nothing about it. Yeah. And the bowl, I think the bowler had almost seen him coming.
Yeah.
So the pitch had got into batters' minds.
I just wanted to take a second to do a quick PSA for all of our beloved Cricket at Our listeners. We treasure your loyalty, and the last thing we want to see is any cricket fans struck down in bad health. One thing that can increase your risk of developing issues like heart disease is plastic chemicals. It's hard to avoid plastics. They're in just about everything, but we can try to be more conscious about what we're buying, especially...
Having said that, we need to go back and say how good Bo Webster batted in this series. He's the new batsman in the side.
Yes.
He's the all-rounder. He's not really in there as a batter. He's made a half-century in the first innings. He's come out and batted really soberly in the second. Well, sober but with aggression.
He's taken 2 good catches. He's taken an important wicket. He's had a fantastic test match. He's done more than act as a substitute for Mitchell Marsh. In fact, Mitchell Marsh would be, I think, long odds now to resume his test career.
I was genuinely surprised by how Bo Webster batted, how good he looked at the crease, and just how comfortable too. He really just has come into the test team and seemed to have no nerve.
I think you made a good point last night about his height being helpful on the surface. He among all the batsmen looked to be the one coping best with the bounce, even though he was actually bounced out in the first innings. It takes a fair bouncer to get it up at chin level on Bo Webster. So he's had a terrific test match.
Right.
And Travis Head, Travis Head did Travis Head things, and I think the rest of they just batted sensibly towards the end. They kind of took the pitch out of the equation or out of their considerations. The Indian bowlers were...
He was pretty restrained, wasn't he?
Yeah, 34 off 38.
Yeah, after lunch, it was Khawaja that did all the running. Yeah. And I mean, the bowlers weren't giving Head anything to work with, but he didn't panic. He was just dropping it and running and actually getting Khawaja on strike for those 3 or 4 overs after the lunch break. I thought, Prasid Krishna, is that how I say his name? Yeah. Sorry, I'm so tired. Bowled well in this game.
He's got no wheels, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's there and abouts, isn't he? But they were the absence of Bumrah really told in the last innings, and Indian fans will say, well, we lost it because he wasn't there, and you may have really good arguments. Had Jasprit Bumrah bowled in that been fit and bowled in that last innings, you might have won the match. But therein lies the sort of stresses of a 5-test series. Because Mitchell Starc is good for 4 overs in the last innings for Australia. At least India got 10 overs out of Jasprit Bumrah. It's a marathon. It's an ultra marathon, a 5-test series, I would argue.
Yes.
And that's kind of what adds to the intrigue of it, isn't it? Because you know that you've got those people out there who are aching, who are, really struggling to get through 4 innings of a game.
It's not just the 5 tests. It's the fact that the 5 tests are so close together.
Well, they're the wrong way round, aren't they? The big breaks are at the start between Perth and Adelaide and Adelaide and Melbourne.
Yeah.
What you really need is the big breaks at the back end.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, look, those people who are criticising Pat Cummins for going to Coldplay, and I was critical of him going to see Coldplay, not necessarily taking the ODI series off, but he's managed to bowl more than 1,000 balls in this series in 44 days. And he was as hostile at the end as he was, perhaps even more hostile than he was in the very first test match.
People underestimate the grit and resolve of Pat Cummins.
Yeah.
He's a pretty boy, he's educated, all those things that readers of the Australian cannot stand. He went to school. Worse than that, he went to university. Yeah. But he's a really tough cricketer in the old-fashioned method, and he is the kind of guy who gets those wickets when it's really hard, when it's hard work and you've got to dig deep. And I reckon he cherishes those moments like this out there. Okay, he and Stark, someone's got to do it. I'm going to do it.
I loved his.
They really pride themselves on that sort of.
I loved his delivery to get Washington Sundar today, and his little celebration afterwards. It was a little sort of fist pump within himself. Yeah. He wasn't getting ahead of himself. He was just satisfied to have bowled such a terrific delivery. There was no particular ego about it. He could sense that brought victory just that little bit closer.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful series. Really
it has been a wonderful series.
I don't reckon I've had so much fun at Border-Gavaskar Trophy for years.
And the 5-testness of it, I think, is intrinsic to its appeal. This is the first series that Australia has won after losing the first test match since 1968-69.
Great stat, Gid.
And isn't that that's what a 5-test series gives you the scope to do. You can fight back from adversity. You can fight back from setbacks. And actually, that defeat in the first test set the series up perfectly, didn't it? All of a sudden, Australians knew they were in for a fight. Indian fans were excited. Indian fans have been, I think, one of the great features of this summer. The total attendance for the series, 837,000.
Get out of here. How many?
837,000.
I don't believe it. Yeah.
479.
And you know this?
I counted them.
Really? Yeah. What does it say? Sunday. Saturday night, third session, was the highest rating session of the whole series.
How about that?
But Melbourne shot the lights out with it.
Yeah.
And Melbourne was the highest ever watched in the last, in the history of 7. But last night, they had the most people watching the game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they match it again today. Although probably people in Sydney are at the beach. I don't know what people in Melbourne do on.
There were plenty of them. There were plenty of them here today, and at the end of it, they all came out onto the outfield. Great feature. It was a great scene.
Yeah.
It's in my copy tomorrow. I took a photograph from the press box at the end. I love it when the fans are allowed to commune with the playing surface. I think it should be. I wouldn't want it after every day's play, but I certainly like to see it at the end of a game. And it's been good to the last drop this series because India turned up this morning. Yeah. And in theory, they could have retained the Border-Gavaskar Trophy.
Absolutely. And I don't think that would have been a fair
result. It wouldn't have felt fair.
I think Australia had the running.
It could easily have happened.
It could have happened. I agree with you. Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
Interesting day. Another interesting day in the life of Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
He goes out as he came in. He told everyone, everyone to go fuck themselves the first time he played in Sydney in 2012. Yeah. And the crowd's got up his nose and he's turned to them. And did you see what he did to the crowd?
I did,
Emptied out. He's done the old sandpaper thing. He said, not me. Probably not the nicest thing you've ever done, Virat, but to some degree understandable. And I can't dislike Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
No matter what he does, I can criticise him, but I can never bring myself to dislike him. And he walked off the field tonight, and I was almost itching to go up and say, see you, mate. It's been great. but I don't think he would have appreciated it.
I don't think he quite had the game to go with the personality towards the end. And there is something melancholy about that when the game falls away and the reputation remains.
Is it like, is it like when the old rock star gets helped out onto the stool?
That's right, yeah.
Get me a stool.
There is a hint of pathos about a declining champion. And of course, Australia is a place that reveals the decline of champions. And a 5-test series is it's a knock 'em down, drag 'em out affair. And I think Virat was dragging it out towards the end, dragging himself out.
Yeah, he was. Are there any other significant people we need to cover off? Smith has the 9999, which he's going to take to Sri Lanka.
With you. So you're going to be there to report it. Exclusive news, exciting news. Well, Cricket et al. will be represented at the Australia-Sri Lanka series in a few weeks.
When he didn't get the 10,000, Gideon just looked at me and said, well, that means you have to go to Sri Lanka. Off you go, pack your bags. Have you got a visa? Have you got a passport? Have you got some clean undies? I'll wash them in the sink tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Turn them inside out, mate.
I will. The Cricket et al. Undies will be going. And that's good, hey?
It is.
So, that's down to the people who subscribe to our website who will be helping us get there.
Indeed.
And paying for my backpacker accommodation.
Indeed. I meanwhile, will be covering the women's Ashes for Cricket et al. So we can be in two places at the same time.
Yeah. So it's been fun doing it for Cricket et al. this summer. I've enjoyed it. Did you?
I've enjoyed it thoroughly too, Peter. But I'm looking forward to getting out of here.
Yeah. Now it's time to say goodbye to all our family. Or is it, close your eyes. I'm showing they're very old cultural references, aren't they?
It is. We're running out. Our repertoire is fast to England.
Salut Bumrah won the player of the series.
Yes, indeed.
Hands down.
Yeah, you say that, but I think Cummins has 25 wickets. His 160 runs at 20, his captaincy, his generalship, his constancy, his fitness. I reckon there was actually an argument for him.
No, he's woke.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
okay.
no, give it. That's a fair point. It's a fair point. But he has been outstanding, Pat Cummins. I mean, he has a lot of critics. I don't think many of them are sensible. At times he has perhaps. At times in that Ashes series, he struggled a bit, but anyone would struggle in an Ashes series as a captain when the opposition is batting like that.
And you don't have Nathan Lyon. Nathan Lyon has not been a significant factor in this series, but I think his presence in the Australian team does make a difference, even when he's not bowling. And of course, he contributed vital runs at Melbourne, and he is a kind of a talisman in that Australian team.
So now his side has won so much.
They hold every bilateral trophy at the moment, Australia. Every one. Every single one.
They got both World Cups?
No, that's not bilateral.
Oh, bilateral. They hold every bilateral trophy.
And they hold the 50 over World Cup as well.
Yeah.
And they might well end up holding the World Test Championship or retaining it when they face South Africa later this year.
And Cricket et al. Has every intention of being.
Cricket et al. will be there too.
So thank you for being with us.
It is.
Yeah.
It's been great. It's been real. Thank you for supporting us this first summer of the Cricket et al. Experience. In the meantime, though, it's goodbye from me.
And it's good night from him.
Thanks for tuning in. And before we go, we'd like to leave you with a bit of advice.
That's right. We know the best bats are made from pure English willow, and the absolute worst bats you could get are made from cheap plastic.
It's not that you'll be scoring fewer runs, but you'll also be absorbing plastic chemicals and sending pesky microplastics into the environment and into our bodies.
Yes, microplastics are everywhere around us, not just flying off dodgy cricket bats. So check out mindaroo.org for a free ebook that'll guide you in living a healthier life with less plastic around you.